Hey, welcome back. This is Dragos. Welcome back to my show where I teach you about stand-up comedy. Teach you or more share experience from my side. In this particular episode, what I wanted to do is I want to answer one quick question that I've been getting, and that question is, how many jokes do you need for a 1 hour comedy show? When you're running 1 hour comedy shows, how many jokes do you need to have in those 60 minutes, right? Whether it's 60 minutes, maybe 65, 55, whatever, right? So I'm going to tackle that in this particular video now that I have a lot of time since I'm back to the coronavirus. Yay! Corona! Oh my god, stay safe. But before I go into the amount of jokes they need for 60 minutes, I wanted to take a bit of time and kind of re-emphasize, start off from the bottom, right? Like for example, 5 minutes. If you're writing 5 minutes of comedy, what consists of 5 minutes of comedy, of good 5 minutes of comedy, right? Of a good 5 minutes of comedy. So in that situation, I would say that when I try to write for the first 5 minutes of a 1 hour show, what I try to do is I try to stick in about 20 jokes in 5 minutes. 20 jokes in 5 minutes, okay? And the reason for that is especially the first 5 minutes of the 1 hour show need to be very strong and very funny and very packed with jokes, right? Because that will set off the tone for the rest of the hour, right? That will win you favor from the audience and will allow you to experiment, try new stuff, and basically kind of play around, right? Now, if you take that kind of math, say, okay, 20 minutes times, 12, that is the amount of jokes that you need, right? Not quite. Because the thing is, if you have the amount of jokes every 5 minutes, you have 20 jokes every 5 minutes, the problem is the audience gets audience fatigue, right? They're going to get tired of laughing and you're going to see them run out of steam by the end you reach the 1 hour. So this is literally, you are expanding so much energy when you're laughing, right? Like you're knee slap. Now, in that context, you also have to take into account the fact that you have to always factor in the laughter, right? You have to factor in the laughter. So let's say if you do a good joke, it takes you about like 5-7 seconds to deliver it, maybe like 20 seconds, whatever. 20 seconds to deliver it, you're gonna have like about maybe 10 seconds of laughter if you do it really well. 5-10 seconds of laughter. So in that context, like writing 20 jokes for 5 minutes constantly for 60 minutes on end, it's gonna get super exhausting and the audience is going to die, which is good, I guess. But what do you want them? You want to leave the show with a good feeling of having watched something cool and having processed it as well. It's very important for the audience to process what's happening. So in that context, like 20 minutes of stand-up comedy should potentially, in that kind of context, I think there's a bit of depreciation as you go upwards into the show, right? So particularly how I do it is I take 30 minutes and another 30 minutes, and then I basically kind of write them separately in terms of like the intensity of jokes, right? So what I try to do is basically I try to have like a very high point at the start, 20 jokes per 5 minutes, and then slowly kind of decrease, play around with newer jokes with different kind of emotional tones, and maybe like basically bring it down to like maybe 2 jokes per minute. And in that context of like, let's say that the second 5 minutes could be about 10 jokes, But and then bring it back at the end of the 30 minutes. So I start off like this, I go into a slight little dip, and then bring it short to end the first 30 minutes on a strong note, right? And then when I start the second 30 minutes, again, strong. So then you have a little bit of pause in the middle. Again, this pause allows you, and these little curves here, I'm going to try to see if I can draw this on the editing. But these little curves here allow you to kind of experiment with other things, allow you to like put some emotional elements in there, add a bit more storytelling, and basically also kind of plan out your callbacks. So you can maybe call them back in the second half hour. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense for you guys, but that is kind of how I think about it, because I don't want the audience to kind of basically run out of steam on me. And effectively what I try to do in those little dips, I think those dips of laughter, I've already kind of won the audience over here. So here's I try to add a bit more of emotional elements, right? Because my end goal for the 1 hour show is to have people remember what was said, not just laugh and go ahead and not remember. Have I spoken about higher order metrics so far? Which is like memory retention. Maybe I have. Maybe I'll review the videos and I'll come back with it. But that's one of the things. That's how I think about it. Do this, bam. Well, technically it's Fuck, this is like the worst thing to do on camera. Okay. Alright, so it's kind of like a snake. It's a snake, oh my god. Alright, cool. But that's how I think about it. And anyway, how many jokes should you have at the end of the 1 hour if you write it this way? For me, it's about 150. So when I have 150 jokes, that is where I'm like, okay, this is where we kind of need to start basically editing and making the hour pretty. But the thing is, you cannot have a 1 hour comedy show without jokes. You need jokes, and I would usually the way that I go about it is I first write 150 jokes, and then I come back and I look at what those jokes are telling me. And when I look back at the 150 jokes that I've written, there will be something there. And the thing that you'll notice there will be, at least for me at the start, you kind of get an idea of what your voice and your persona is from those jokes, because the jokes are come all the time from your subconscious. It's like a bit of an alchemy going on, and they tell you a bit more about yourself and your work. So what I try to do is, like, once I write 150 jokes, because that is the meat of the comedy show, the jokes, right? Once I write 150 jokes, I review them, and then I start working on my persona for that particular 1 hour, right? And that is what I'm going to be talking about in the next video, comedy personas. Do you have a comedy persona? Do you know what a comedy persona is? Can you give examples of comedy personas? Leave a comment in the comment section. And yeah, like, subscribe, let me know if this was useful. If you think 150 for a 1 hour comedy show is enough, it's not enough, drop me a note. And I will hope to see you guys in the next video. Stay safe in the meantime with Corona. Thank you. Bye.